We are back with episode 4 of the podcast Quote Quest, where we explore the intricate meaning of quotes that have the potential to change lives and unlock profound truths. So, the quote that we are looking at today is, "There is no growth in the comfort zone and no comfort in the growth zone." This is a quote by Jocko Willink, who is a former retired U.S. Navy SEAL officer, podcaster, best-selling author, and co-founder of Eklund Front, which is a leadership and management consulting company that operates with the philosophy that we are not only leaders at work, but we are leaders in every capacity of our lives. So, what is this quote trying to tell us? Well, for starters, this quote essentially rips the Band-Aid off of what is required of a person to achieve growth in their lives. In order to achieve growth in whatever aspect of your life, I believe Jocko implies two things in this statement. One, you need to be continuously pushing yourself and aiming higher at what you are currently doing to achieve growth. Or two, you need to be willing to try new things and take risks. Either one of these options is going to require a certain amount of challenge and a certain degree of uncomfortability because we fear what we do not know or haven't experienced. This is why there is no comfort in that growth zone. However, this uncomfortability that comes in the growth zone is a catalyst to grow stronger as a person. By pushing yourself to improve in the thing that you're currently doing, you gain new experience, become better, and you ultimately reap the benefits of the growth. And if you fail, that's also growth, because now you have insight on how you can improve or what you can do differently to promote growth. You can't let the fear of failure hold you back, because that fear of failure is going to prevent you from being able to apply this quote and ultimately embrace that uncomfortability that's required to grow. In order to dive into that growth zone, it takes courage. The fear is always going to be there, but you have to be willing to push yourself beyond those feelings of fear to ultimately hop over from that comfort zone into that growth zone to grow and achieve that potential that you have inside of you. For example, let's say that you're on a cross-country team and your long runs are typically 7 miles. At a certain point, you're doing these 7-mile long runs for just months in your training. That's your long run day. It's 7 miles. But at a certain point, you're only going to improve and get better if you increase that mileage on those long runs to 8, 9, 10, and so on. And at first, it's going to be uncomfortable because you're not used to running that long for a long run, right? You're used to the 7 miles and now you're increasing the mileage. However, if you can see where I'm going, this is where the growth occurs. It's during the uncomfortability. Or for another example, let's say that you're in the gym doing leg day, everyone's favorite day, and you're consistently deadlifting 225 pounds. At some point, you're going to have to increase the weight if you want to continue to grow stronger. Whether it's increasing the weight or increasing the reps, you have to do something different to continue to grow stronger, continue to grow. And it's going to be uncomfortable because it's a new weight or a new rep range. But Jocko is saying this is exactly the point. You're in the growth zone and there's little to no comfortability in that zone. That is why you are growing. Or what about applying for a job that you've always wanted? Or starting that business that you've always dreamed of? Or starting that journey towards improving your health? Like I said before, as humans, we fear the unknown. Societal conditioning has told us to just do enough to get by. Instant gratification, convenience, and ways to avoid challenges are often molded into the environments we are in. I mean, when have you seen a TV ad that tells you that you need to embrace uncomfortability in order to grow and reach your fullest potential? Probably not, because it's not popular or mainstream, per se, to preach the message of embracing the uncomfortability needed to foster growth. However, that is often the prerequisite for improvement. Embracing this mentality is done often behind the scenes when no one is watching. We all must decide on whether or not we are complacent with where we are at, or if we decide to embrace uncomfortability for that delayed long-term gratification of that growth that we're looking to see. So what's something you can do to practically implement this quote in your life specifically? Well, I want you to draw 3 circles. The inner circle represents your comfort zone. These are the things you do that are familiar and provide comfort, such as watching TV, sleeping in, or hanging out with friends. The second circle represents the growth zone. These are things that you find challenging. They could be things like trying a new workout, applying for a job, pitching in an idea within a group setting, or even changing up your nutrition to better it. The third circle represents your panic zone. These represent things that make you just run for the hills. They could be things like mountain biking down a steep hill, public speaking, or being a volunteer in front of a large group. Whatever speaks to you, write these things down in their respective zones. Then either screenshot this or put this in a place where you see it every day to remind yourself to keep it pushing. Remember, growth only occurs in one of these circles, the growth zone. Make an action plan to step into that growth zone and even expand that zone by bringing the things from the panic zone into that growth zone to ultimately make that growth zone larger. This will help you visualize Jocko's quote and bring it to life in your own life. Thank you all so much for listening. That's all for today. And keep pursuing the mission. Thank you.